I came home to divorce papers on the kitchen counter, a sticky note from Ryan saying, "It's over. I can't live like this." The same man who swore to love me for better or worse hadn't even asked where the money went. He just assumed I lost everything. He had no clue I was sitting on $800,000, and even less of a clue that I wasn't spending another second begging him to stay. This is a story of betrayal, reinvention, and the sweetest kind of revenge. Before we get into the story, let us know where you're watching from, and don't forget to like and subscribe. You ever look back on a relationship and wonder how the hell you didn't see the signs sooner? That's me with Ryan. If you asked me 5 years ago, I'd have told you he was the love of my life. I would have said he was steady, responsible, the kind of guy who made me feel safe. But if you asked me now, I'd tell you he was the best mistake I ever made. My name's Olivia Hart. I'm 32, and for most of my life, I thought love meant sacrifice. Give up your time, your peace, your damn sanity, because that's what you do when you love someone, right? That's what I told myself, anyway. And maybe that's why I didn't see Ryan for who he really was. I met him when I was 25, back when I was still working 12-hour days to get my marketing startup off the ground. He had a real job, as he loved to call it. Corporate finance. A steady paycheck. Health insurance. And this air of superiority, like he was the only adult in the room. I used to think it was attractive, his confidence, the way he always had a plan. He made me feel like I didn't have to worry about anything, like I had this safety net. But the thing about safety nets? Sometimes they're just cages with a nice name. At first, Ryan liked that I was ambitious. He called me his little entrepreneur, which I pretended was cute and not completely condescending. When I landed my first big client, he took me out for drinks, acted like he was proud. But as my business grew, his patience shrank. He started making little comments, jokes that weren't really jokes. "How long do you think this startup phase will last? You know, real jobs don't let you work in sweatpants all day. If this doesn't work out, you can always go corporate." Like failing was inevitable. Like success was something only people with real jobs could have. And yet, my company was doing fine. More than fine. I had a team. I had clients lined up. I was making enough to pay our bills, sometimes more than him. But did he ever acknowledge that? No. Because in Ryan's world, my money didn't count. It wasn't stable. It wasn't real. The thing is, I wanted to believe he was right. That my business wasn't my whole life. That I could have both, a marriage and a company. So, I did what I always did. I ignored the doubts. Told myself love was about compromise. And that's how I ended up in a marriage where my husband thought my dreams were just hobbies. Things got worse when I started thinking about selling. It wasn't because my business was failing. If anything, it was thriving. But I was tired. Burnt out in a way coffee couldn't fix. I had spent years grinding, chasing the next milestone, and I was ready to breathe again. I got an offer, $800K to sell. Not a life-changing number, but enough to give me time to figure out what I wanted next. When I told Ryan I was considering it, he barely looked up from his phone. "You really think someone's gonna pay you for that?" That was it. That was his reaction. "No, wow, Liv, that's incredible. No, I'm proud of you." Just doubt. It wasn't the first time he dismissed me. But something about that moment stuck with me. The way he didn't even pretend to care. The way he made me feel like I was delusional for thinking I could pull this off. And the worst part? A small part of me believed him. Still, I moved forward with the sale. Quietly. I handled everything on my own, made sure the money was in a private account. I wanted to tell him, but something held me back. Maybe I wanted to see if he'd ask. If he'd notice that something big was happening in my life. He didn't. And that's when I started noticing things about him. Ryan had always been predictable. Home by 6. Dinner at 7. ESPN on in the background while he half listened to me talk about my day. But suddenly, he was working late. Texting more. Hiding his phone screen when I walked by. One night, I asked. Just a simple, "Everything okay at work?" His answer was just as simple. "Yeah, just busy." And I told myself that was enough. Because marriage was about trust, right? I should have asked more questions. I should have paid attention. Because Ryan wasn't just working late. He was working on an exit plan. And I was about to find out exactly how much he thought I was worth. I don't remember the exact moment I stopped loving Ryan. I used to think there would be a dramatic turning point, some big movie-worthy realization where I'd look at him and just know. But the truth? It was slow. Little things chipping away at me. The way he never really listened when I talked. The way I always felt like I had to prove myself. The way I convinced myself over and over again that this was normal. That this was love. But the night I came home and saw those divorce papers sitting on the kitchen counter? That was different. That was the moment I felt something break. I stood in the doorway, keys still in my hand, staring at the envelope like it might get up and walk away. There was no big confrontation. No fight. Just a sticky note stuck to the counter, like I was some roommate moving out early. It's over. I can't live like this. That was it. No explanation. No discussion. Just a decision he had already made. I felt nothing. Not at first. Just this eerie kind of stillness, like my brain hadn't caught up yet. I dropped my bag and sat at the kitchen table, staring at the note like it might change if I looked at it long enough. I should have been devastated, right? My husband was leaving me. This was supposed to be a life-altering moment. Instead, all I could think was, this house never really felt like mine anyway. I don't know how long I sat there, staring at the papers without reading them. But at some point, I grabbed my phone. My hands were steady, but I could feel something building, something slow and cold, curling in my stomach like a fist. And that's when I saw it. A text. Not to me. To his best friend, Adam. Ryan, she's broke. I can't carry her anymore. Just like that, the final puzzle piece clicked into place. He didn't leave because we weren't happy. He didn't leave because we fought or grew apart. Ryan left because he thought I was broke. The husband I had financially supported when he wanted to go back to school. The same man who told me my business wasn't a real job. The man who never once asked how I was doing, if I needed help, if I was struggling. He just assumed. And he left. I should have been heartbroken. But that feeling from earlier? That slow, curling coldness? It spread. Because now I wasn't just done. I was free. I got up slowly, like I was moving underwater. No tears. No panic. Just this overwhelming, almost laughable realization that I had spent years trying to make a man happy who didn't even see me. And now? Now, I didn't have to try anymore. I looked around the kitchen, the house I had helped pay for, the life I had built, and it hit me how much of it wasn't mine. The furniture he picked. The neutral colors he liked. The suffocating feeling of never being enough. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to explain. If Ryan wanted out, he was getting exactly what he asked for. So, I packed a bag. Not everything, just the essentials. A suitcase, my laptop, a few things that actually mattered to me. I took off my wedding ring and set it on the counter, right next to his damn note. And then I walked out of the house like I was leaving a hotel room. No goodbyes. No final words. I wasn't going to waste another second trying to hold on to something he had already thrown away. Ryan thought he was walking away from a broke woman. He had no idea I was sitting on $800,000. I didn't cry. Not when I left the house. Not when I checked into the hotel. Not even when I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the hum of the mini fridge. I thought maybe I would. That it would hit me all at once. 7 years of marriage gone. The life I had built with someone, erased with a sticky note. But all I felt was light. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't carrying the weight of us. No more waiting for Ryan to notice me. No more twisting myself into someone smaller, softer, easier to love. It was just me. And that thought? It didn't scare me. It thrilled me. I woke up the next morning, stretched out in the unfamiliar bed, and realized I could do whatever the hell I wanted. No schedule. No obligations. No man waiting at home to judge how I spent my time. So I did the first thing that came to mind. I grabbed my phone and called the one person who had always believed in me. Ethan. We hadn't talked in a while, but that was never because of us. It was because of Ryan. Ethan had been my assistant back when I first started my company. He was sharp, hardworking, and good, the kind of guy who could handle anything I threw at him. He had this easy way of making people feel comfortable, like you could tell him your worst ideas and he'd find a way to turn them into gold. But Ryan never liked him. Maybe it was because Ethan actually listened when I talked. Maybe it was because he had a way of making me laugh, even on my worst days. Or maybe, just maybe, it was because Ryan saw something before I did. Back then, I ignored the tension. Pushed it away, told myself Ethan was just a friend, nothing more. But now, I wasn't married. I shot him a text, "Hey, want to grab coffee?" It took less than a minute for him to respond. "Ethan, thought you forgot about me." "Me, never." "Ethan, name the time and place." I smiled. And for the first time in years, I felt excited. An hour later, I was sitting at a small cafe, fingers curled around a warm latte, when I saw him walk in. And just like that, something in my chest shifted. He looked good. Not just in the "oh, you clean up nice" kind of way. No, this was different. He had always been attractive, tall, broad shoulders, sharp jawline, but now? He owned it. Confidence in every step, the kind of presence that turned heads. And when his eyes landed on me, he grinned. "Olivia Hart," he said, sliding into the seat across from me. "Didn't think I'd ever hear from you again." I rolled my eyes. "Don't be dramatic." "Not dramatic. Just surprised." He tilted his head, studying me. "So what's new?" I let out a breath. "Ryan left me." Ethan blinked. "Wait, what?" "Yeah." I took a sip of my coffee, watching his face carefully. Came home to divorce papers on the counter. No conversation, no fight. Just poof, marriage over. For a second, he just stared at me. Then he leaned back, shaking his head. "What an idiot." I laughed. "You always say exactly what you're thinking, don't you?" I mean, I could pretend to be sad for him, but honestly, I'm thrilled. I raised an eyebrow. "Thrilled?" He shrugged, but there was something in his eyes, something warm. "Yeah, you deserve better." I swallowed. Looked down at my coffee, suddenly feeling a little exposed. Ethan had always been like this. Honest. Straight to the point. Ryan had spent years making me feel less than. And here was Ethan, acting like I was something more. I cleared my throat. Well, joke's on him. He thought I was broke. Ethan frowned. "What do you mean?" I leaned in, lowering my voice. "I sold the company before he left." His eyes widened. "Wait, what?" "Yeah. $800,000. Sitting in my account right now." He blinked. Opened his mouth. Closed it. Then burst out laughing. "Jesus, Olivia." He ran a hand through his hair, grinning. "So, let me get this straight. You're secretly rich, newly single, and completely out of Ryan's league." I smirked. "That about sums it up." He shook his head, still smiling. "Damn. If I had known this was how my morning was gonna go, I would have dressed better." I laughed. For the first time in weeks, it was easy. And sitting there, across from him, I felt something else. Hope. Ryan had been my past. But maybe, just maybe, Ethan was my future. I hadn't thought about Ryan in weeks. Not once. Okay, maybe once or twice in passing. But not in a way that hurt. Not in a way that made me wish things had gone differently. Because my life? It was better without him. My days were mine again. No silent judgment. No walking on eggshells. No feeling like I had to earn my husband's attention. And then, just when I thought I had finally moved on, Ryan called. I was lying in bed, scrolling through my phone, when his name popped up on my screen. For a second, I just stared at it. My heart didn't race. My hands didn't shake. I just didn't care. I let it ring. A minute later, a voicemail popped up. I hesitated, then hit play. Ryan, sounding casual, too casual. "Hey Olivia. Just wanted to check in. See how you're doing. Call me back when you can." I smiled. Not a happy smile. Not even a sad one. Just the kind of smile you get when you realize someone finally gets what they deserve. I deleted the voicemail. The next morning, I got an email. Ryan, hey, can we talk? I ignored that too. Because here's the thing, he didn't care how I was doing. He just wanted to know if I was suffering. If I needed him. If I was struggling the way he assumed I would. And when I didn't answer, he got desperate. A week later, I ran into him. It wasn't planned. I wasn't looking for revenge. I was just living. Ethan and I were out at a new restaurant downtown, sitting at a corner booth, laughing over something stupid, some inside joke we had from years ago. And that's when I saw him. Ryan. Standing by the bar, drink in hand, staring at me like he had just seen a ghost. I watched as his expression shifted, first shock, then confusion, then something else. Something ugly. Regret. I could practically see the thoughts running through his head. Why did I look happy? Why wasn't I miserable? And more importantly, why was I with Ethan? I felt Ethan's hand brush against mine, casual, easy. Like it belonged there. And I saw the moment Ryan realized. He set his drink down and walked over. Olivia, he said, fake smile plastered on his face. Can we talk? I took a sip of my wine, looked him dead in the eyes, and said, I don't think we have anything left to say. I watched as that hit him, really hit him. The way his jaw tightened. The way his hands curled into fists at his sides. The way he looked at Ethan like he wanted to kill him. Ethan, to his credit, just raised an eyebrow. Took a slow sip of his drink. Ryan swallowed. Come on, Liv. Just 5 minutes. I set my glass down. Leaned in, just enough for him to hear me. You made your choice, Ryan. Now you have to live with it. Then I turned back to Ethan. Smiled. And just like that, Ryan was nothing to me. I didn't look back as he walked away. Didn't care how he felt. Because for the first time in years, I was finally free. Ryan didn't give up right away. After that night at the restaurant, I got another email. Then a text. Then a long voicemail where he tried to sound casual, but I could hear it, underneath the fake concern, the fake interest. He wanted something. I didn't know what, and I didn't care. The divorce was finalized a few weeks later. It was quick, clean. Ryan didn't even fight for much, because, why would he? He thought I had nothing. And I let him think that. I didn't make a scene. Didn't throw my success in his face. I just let him walk away. I thought that would be the end of it. But then months later, it happened. It was at a mutual friend's party. I almost didn't go. It was one of those big house parties, loud music, too many people, too much small talk. But Ethan convinced me. Come on, he said, squeezing my hand. We'll show up, grab a drink, and if it sucks, we'll leave. No pressure. And, okay, maybe I wanted to be seen. Maybe I wanted to walk into a room, dressed to kill, with a man who actually loved me at my side. So I went. We had been there for maybe an hour when I heard someone say Ryan's name. I glanced over, he was standing across the room, drink in hand, talking to a group of guys. I rolled my eyes. Whatever. I wasn't going to waste my night on him. But then I saw it. The moment someone leaned in and said something to him, something that made him freeze. Something that made his entire face change. And suddenly, I knew. He knows. I didn't even have to hear it. I could see it. Someone had told him. Someone had let it slip that the broke ex-wife he abandoned had actually sold her company for nearly $1 million. That the woman he left because she was a burden had been sitting on $800,000 the entire time. And he had no idea. Ryan turned his head, eyes scanning the room. And then, he saw me. I was standing by the bar, Ethan's arm around my waist, laughing at something he whispered in my ear. Ryan stared at me. His face turned red. His grip on his drink tightened. He opened his mouth, like he was about to say something. Then shut it again. And I just smiled. Not a fake smile. Not a mean one. Just the kind of smile you give someone when you win. He didn't come over. Didn't say a word. Because what could he say? What could he possibly say to fix what he had done? Nothing. And I think for the first time, he knew that. A week later, I got one last voicemail. Ryan's voice was quiet. Ryan, Olivia. I heard about everything. About the business. The money. I didn't know. I made a mistake. I think we should talk. Please. I hit delete. Because here's the thing, Ryan wasn't sorry he left me. He was sorry he lost out. But me? I wasn't losing sleep over him. I was too busy planning my wedding. Yeah. Because while Ryan was busy realizing he had lost everything, I was getting ready to marry the man who had seen my worth long before a price tag came with it. And as I stood in front of the mirror in my wedding dress, looking at the woman I had become, I thought back to that night. The night I found the divorce papers. The night I thought my life was falling apart. And I thanked Ryan. For walking away. For leaving me. For setting me free.